I have a lot of hakaras to tell you that the roof took off time. Mamish, one of the busiest people in Klal Yisrael. And he took off the time to come and to give us the Chizuk. We should go into Yom Kippur strong, and we should be zeicher to all the brachas.
It's probably the heiligste Me'ez La'ez of the Yiddish calendar. And to get a clear understanding of Yom Kippur, this is the place to be. It's Yom Kippur is a heilige Tag, and everyone knows that Yom Kippur is heilig. But what you see in both the Midrashim, both the Knesiyas, is lav dafka a clear definition of Yom Kippur. What we feel in this room tonight, what's already felt, what's being felt now, what's going to be felt, is probably the closest you'll get to the essence of Yom Kippurim. I'm going to try to explain. I dafka didn't prepare, because to prepare to speak to parents such as yourselves and all those listening will never do it justice. To prepare is as if to say it's possible to come prepared. It's impossible to come prepared. It's just possible to open our hearts wide and speak. Speak like Eden, speak to each other. I want to repeat to you what I said Shabbos Shuvah. It'll give you a level of comfort, because if I said it Shabbos Shuvah in Shul, it must be the truth. You know, people come out here and speak, you're probably thinking, listen, what are they going to say to us? They're going to say to us something that will give us Chizuk. So I will repeat you what I said in Shul to everyone. We spoke about Ahava. The subject on Shabbos Shuvah was Ahava. The first 30 minutes we spoke about the concept of Ahava that a Yid feels to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We spoke about a very difficult Svasemes in Parshas Pinchas, which is not for tonight. But after that half hour, we asked, what is Ahava? What is Ahava? What's the definition of Ahava? And to explain this, quoted the Gemara says, Beis Shammai says, in order for a husband to divorce his wife, it has to be that he found something chomur enough that she deserves to be divorced. That's the sheet of Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel says, even hikdicho tafshiloi, even if she burnt his food, he can already divorce her. Rabbi Akiva says, afilu motzo isho acheres no mimenu. I don't even want to translate. He can even divorce her if motzo isho acheres, that's no mimenu. The question is obvious. What did Beis Hillel teach us when it came to the ger that Beis Shammai said, it's impossible to learn kol haTorah kula regel achas? Came Beis Hillel, and Beis Hillel said something different. He said, I'll teach you the whole Torah regel achas. Da loch sno lechavruch lo yisavit. If you hate something you don't want to be done to you, don't do it to someone else. What did Rabbi Akiva teach us? V'ahavta l'reacho kamoicho ze klal godel b'Torah. How could it be that Beis Hillel, who teaches us to love, that Rabbi Akiva that teaches us that loving reacho kamoicho is klal godel b'Torah? How could it be that they give us the criteria for divorce? Chas v'sholem, hikdicha tafshila, you come home, your supper is burnt. Rabbi Akiva, filamotza isha, acheres, no, that's a reason for this kasha the Bali Musar asked. It doesn't match. The person who's saying this and what he's saying, it just doesn't add up. If Beis Shammai would say it, okay. But Beis Hillel, Rabbi Akiva should allow should validate a get because of, and the Bali Musar explain, and they say we have to learn this Gemara completely different. It's not the pshat that because Ekdicho Tafshiloi, you're allowed to give her a get. It's not the pshat Chas v'sholem Motze Isha Noimeno, you're allowed to give her a get. The pshat is, if you have an issue with it, if your marriage is shaking because of it, you were never married in the first place. There's no ahava there. This marriage is not based on ahava. And if it's not based on ahava, it's okay to give a get. Marriage needs to be based on ahava. And the definition of ahava, according to Beis Hillel, who understood ahava, according to Rabbi Akiva, is dedication, is to give, is to love, and not to be in business. Yidden are known to be gewaltige business people. Goyim don't love us for being so business savvy, such soichrim. We could turn anything into a business, anything and everything. A Yid's mindset is to verdienen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this chush. It could be because of all the persecutions, the survivals. The Lamaisa Yid is a gute soicher. But soicherishkeit, and to be a soicher is the opposite, the exact opposite of ahava. In Kabbalah we learn that the Knanim, the nation called Knanim, they are the klipa, they are the tumah against midas ahava, midas achesed. Avraham was up against the Knanim. Knan, in Rashi in Tanakh, at least 3 times and maybe more, is not a nation. Knan is a soicher. Rashi defines the word Knani, a tagor, a soicher. Knan is the antithesis, the opposite of Avraham Avinu. Avraham represents, personifies Ahavu. Knan personifies the klipa, the tumah of Ahavu. The tumah of Ahavu is what's in it for me. It's a geschäft, it's an investment. It's about return, it's about profiting. Any sort of profit whatsoever is a geschäft. That's Knan. And we say, V'ivdulonu min atoyim v'nosanlonu toiras emes, we are not Knan, we are Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael is the midah of Avrom Oyhavi, the midah of Chesed of Ahava. The midah of Ahava is a midah that if Ikdicho Tafshiloi, if Motzo Isha Noimenu, it doesn't rock the boat. It's not a problem. I was never in this so that things should work for me. I was in it so that it works for you. That's the definition of true Ahava. This concept of true Ahava is the Ahava that we get to our children when we don't get the return we expected. Up until the moment we get the expected return, this ahava didn't surface. It's there. It's there 100%. There's no way out. There's no way around. There is a ahava between parents and children that's just there. But if you learn the Sefer Atanya, you'll learn and understand that not all ahavas surface. They are there, but they don't surface. They're not always revealed. When the return, the expected return, is not there, is when the ahava, the true ahava, surfaces. That's when it becomes ahava. Up until then, it was ahava beneath the surface. On the surface, it was Knan. It was a sochrishkeit. Is I'll give and you'll give back. What are you going to give back? The different currencies, different frequencies, some holier than others, but it's still a return. The moment there is no return is where the ahava surfaces. Now what are we to do with that ahava? Now that we have that ahava, it's there. If it wouldn't be there, no one would be in the room tonight. The ahava is there. If it wouldn't be there, none of us would be in pain tonight. It's because the ahava is there. So what do we do with this ahava? The words unconditional love are very misinterpreted. The Mishnah is the one who teaches us unconditional love. The Mishnah says, ahava she'eina tluya b'dover. Ahavas David v'Yonasan, Ahavas Amnon v'Tomor. Chazal HaKtoshim use the words unconditional, Ahava she'eina tluya b'dover. What does Ahava she'eina tluya b'dover mean? Today the word Ahava she'eina tluya b'dover means hefkerus. Hefkerus means I don't care. Hefkerus means it's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. I do care. I cry. I care. I daven. I don't stop caring. Why do I care? Because the ahava is there. Listen carefully because this is deep. If the ahava is tolui bedover, bottle dover, bottle ahava, and then I don't care. Then I don't care. Because the ahava she'eina tluya bedover surfaces. Because I really love. There's no return at this point. This is not an investment. If it would be, I would have long given up on this investment. I would file chapter 11 on this investment. I still love. Because I love, I care. I care. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to us this time of the year. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if I would love you because of the return I get from you, I already said to Adam Arisha in 10 da'atcho shelo tekalkel v'tachrev olomi, please don't ruin my world, don't destroy my world, as Hashem said to Adam Arisha. And there we went from Adam Arisha until today, and we're destructive. Hashem says, I still love you. And because I love you, I care. And because I care, I'll do everything in my power. I'll do anything and everything to try to allow you to be and to give you a chance to come back. I will keep that bridge strong. I will keep that bridge in place so that you have a way back when the day comes, how it comes, and when it comes. Because of the ahava. Ahava she'eina tluya bedover doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean it's all good. It means I love you because I love you. And I have all the patience in the world. And I will keep that bridge intact so that if and when and how you decide to turn the bridges there. There was a big tzaddik who spent, I think, 14 years in the Siberian jails. He was a mashpia. His name was Ramendel Futterfass. This past Shabbos, I read to my children, Mendel was locked up, and with him in prison was someone who claimed to be a tightrope walker. He says he can walk the tightrope. In good days, there would be circuses, and he would get up, lifnei am ve'ed, and walk the tightrope. Mendel was fascinated. He allowed this person to talk about himself and explain, and Mendel remained very fascinated to give up your life and walk from pole to pole on a tightrope. In any case, when Stalin's days came to an end, they weren't released, but they were given a holiday day, a May Day, and that day they created a circus. The day at the circus, this tightrope walker says to Mendel, watch, I will be the highlight of today. My walking the tightrope will be the highlight. In Kachav, they erected two poles far from each other. This guy gets up, Mendel is watching, and he gets up. The first few steps were pretty scary. Slowly but surely, he got back to himself. He pulled himself together, and he walked straight to the pole, turned around, walked back, came off the pole, went straight to Reb Mendel, and said, Rabbi, what do you say? Mendel says, now I believe. You're saying this to me for years, but now I saw it. It's unbelievable. So he says to Mendel, he says, Rabbi, I want to ask you, you're a smart man. He says, was it my hands? Was it my feet? What was it? What got me from pole to pole? These were the times that there was no net to fall into. There was no safety. Mendel looks at him in the face. He says, it wasn't your hands, it wasn't your feet, it was your eyes. So long you kept your eyes on the pole, you made it. He says, you're right, Rabbi. It was not my hands, not my feet, it's my eyes. Then he asks him a good question. He says, tell me, what was the most challenging moment of my tightrope walking? Where was I scared? Remendel thinks for a minute, and he says to him, when you hit the pole and you had to turn around, he says, at that moment you were afraid. That was the most difficult moment in your journey. He says, Rabbi, why? He says, because you didn't see the pole. Because you had to turn around, you were on a tightrope, and you had no pole to look at. That's where our children are. They're at the end of the tightrope. They've exhausted everything. There's nothing there. There is absolutely nothing there. Not only nothing, but worse than nothing. Garnished. They are right there at the end of that rope. They have to make that turn, which is the most difficult turn to make, because they don't believe there's something here either. Were they to believe there's something here, they'd be here. They see no pole, they're on a tightrope. It's oblivion mitzad zeh, oblivion mitzad zeh. They must turn around. And our job is to keep that tightrope, to keep it in place. And that's the ahava that gives us all the pain. Would we be able to disconnect? Would this be ahava she'eina tluya b'dover? We would feel no pain. The veituk that's in this room, the veituk that's in Klal Yisrael in general today, that pain is a pain of ahava she'eina tluya b'dover, which is the love that we feel to our children. The pain that we feel because we're connected, because we love. And the kesher that we keep and the love that we express is the tightrope that will ultimately bring them all back. Be'ezus Hashem Yisporach B'koref. What our children don't realize. There was a Maisa. There was a Yid, lived here in Brooklyn. His name was Yossel. Yossel went through the Churban of Europe, and he didn't have a very easy job during the wartime. He was Dr. Mengele Yimach Shemoy V'Zichroi. If there'd be a better way to say Yimach Shemoy, I would use it. He was his assistant. That was the job he was given. We were zoichet to make a mishaberach in Shul Shabbos for the birth of twins. If you know anything about this Yimach Shemoy V'Zichroi, he wanted to experiment on twins. And he did not use anesthetics or anesthesia. He kept them alive during surgery. And Yosselu was there to hold the patients down. He had to hold them down, and they would shriek and scream in pain and say, let go, get me off this table. So long that they were able to. Some died in the process, some stayed alive. This was Yossel's job, Nebuch. The war ended, he found his way to Brooklyn, New York. They begged and pleaded with Yossel to talk, to give an interview, to explain. Even if only for historical facts, he's the only one, or one of the only ones that were in there that knew what was really going on. He refused. Later in life, Yossel agreed to give an interview. They asked Yossel, amongst other questions, tell us, what was your most difficult moment? Try and remember from the day you were born till today, what was your most difficult moment? Yossel says, my most difficult moment was 7 years ago. And the people in the room, just when he says 7 years ago, 7 years ago? He says, yeah. What was 7 years ago, they ask him. He says, 7 years ago, My youngest child woke up in the middle of the night in terrible pain. Bent over, pale, screaming in pain. He says, for the first few minutes we thought it's just regular. He says, after a few minutes we realized this is an emergency. This is a problem. We called ARTSCROLL. We come into the emergency room. The doctor takes one look at my son, takes a standing x-ray, grabs me by my hand and says, listen, this child has maybe seconds to have surgery before his appendix ruptures and he gets toxic and dies. I'm pulling him into the operating room. I will start operating before the anesthesia is working, and you are to hold him down. And Yossel goes into the operating room and holds his child down. And the child screams, Tati, leave me alone. Loz mechup, leave me alone. Says Yossel to the interview, because that was my most difficult moment. And then they ask him and they say, Yossel, but why? So he says, it's one thing when both patient and I know what's going on. And we understand what's going on. He says it's something completely different when it's a father and a son, and the son feels he's being hurt, and the father or mother feels, I'm saving your life. He says, that pain, I couldn't carry. I couldn't bear that pain. It was worse than anything I ever experienced. And that's what our children do not understand. They don't understand that what we want for them is life, is away from toxicity, is a future, is eternity, is olam haba, is olam haza. They don't understand. They're screaming, leave me alone, let me go. And rightfully so, we try to hold on as long as we can. And none of us are guilty for trying to hold on as long as we can. Don't walk around saying, should've, would've, could've. We're not born psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, social workers, or even TP parents. We don't go under the chuppah with a license for this. We go under the chuppah and have children and expect them to do what we did or maybe even better. And therefore we hold them down and we try. And we try and we don't stop trying. But at a certain point, with the kid screaming, leave me alone, you're hurting me, and we're in the pain that Yossel was in, the pain that he couldn't bear, that was worse than the pain of what we don't want to talk about. We don't want to even mention. At that point, what's left is that tightrope. That tightrope that Klal Yisrael is going to celebrate tomorrow night. The tightrope that's the platform for Yom Kippur. What is the platform for Yom Kippur? It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ahava she'eina tluya b'dover. If it's tluya b'dover, there'd be no Yom Kippur. There would be no Am Yisrael. Hashem's plan is not working. Let's not kid ourselves with the fact that we're all tzaddikim. Hashem's plan, his plan of this world is not working. The world is korov lahefsid and rochoik mischar. But Hashem says, my ahavet you is not tolu b'shom dover. Ato v'chartonu mikol ha'amim o'afto isonu v'rotzi savonu. There's a level even greater than ahavet she'eina tluya b'dover. V'rotzi savonu. And Hashem says every year, come. Realize the rope is there. You don't see the pole. Comes Rosh Chodesh Elul, comes Rosh Hashanah, Ases Yemei Tshuva, Yom HaKippurim. And Hashem says, come. And what's fascinating and moving, we don't start Pesach with a onu matirin Lechol im ha'avaryonim. We don't start Sukkos with Onu Matirim Leishev Basuka im ha'avaryonim. We don't start Chanukah Onu Madliken Neiros im ha'avaryonim. We don't start Purim Onu Shoisim L'chaim im ha'avaryonim. Why? They're not there, it's fine. Hashem has a plan. His plan will work. V'shovu bonim ligvulom beli shum sofek. Ve'eshiv leiv ovois al bonim v'leiv bonim al avoisom. Up until this generation, nobody ever understood Eliyahu Hanavi has nothing better to do. Let him cure the sick. Let him be menachem da'avelim. Every Motzei Shabbos we sing, Eliyahu Hanavi is going to be Heishiv leiv ovois al bonim v'leiv bonim al avoisom. Obviously, Chazal HaKtoshim, the Nevi'im knew that this is coming. Hashem has a plan. Only Yom Kippur, when we celebrate the Ahava she'eina tluya b'dover, we say, Onu matirin lispalei lemuavaryonim. Whether they hear us, they don't hear us, they want to hear us, they b'shum oifen don't want to hear us, it doesn't matter. We are saying to everyone, Onu matirin lispalei lemuavaryonim. You are part of this Yom Tiv. You don't want to be part of Pesach, that's okay. Yom Kippur you're part of. This is your Yom Tiv. It's more yours than it's ours. The Nesoyen is Noir V'Oyim. I personally would say, and that's with a humble personal, that this pain and this nisoyen is greater than any nisoyen that exists. And I know of many. This nisoyen is greater, and it's simple. I'll explain to you why. Because we give everything up for our Yiddishkeit. The unterste Shira is, we give every penny we possess and we don't. We give up everything, our health, our wealth, our kovet, our everything, for the chinuch and the Yiddishkeit of our children. It's because we are heilige Yidden. We are heilige Yidden. We don't realize, and it's not said to us often enough, we are heilige Yidden. We are what's left. We are what's left. We are what Hashem has in His world. And the Yiddishkeit is worth everything to us, and our children's Yiddishkeit is worth everything to us. What did we not do? What are we not willing to do to have a bissel more Yiddish nachas? A bissel more. Even what are we not willing to do? If I'd say to you today, raise your hand if you're willing to get stage 4 cancer metastasized all over your body to have your child back, who would say no? No one. No one in this room would say no. Everyone would say, Pseider, so sein, ehrlich leiden. Aber der Yiddische nachas. That's the Kedusha of Klal Yisrael. That's the Eilikkeit of Yidden. And this Eilikkeit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is only from us. This Eilikkeit, this Kiddush Hashem, that parents sit back and say, I would give everything to get a bissel more Yiddish nachas. And guess what? You gave everything, and you continue to give everything. And all of that is what creates that tightrope. All of it, everything we gave, everything we give, everything we cry for, everything we laugh about. All of this creates and preserves that tiny thread. That's the thread that our children, Be'ezus Hashem Yisporach, will turn around, that dangerous, scary turnaround, and start walking back slowly but surely. And up until then, we keep the rope intact. Every time we krecht, or every time we are mavir on our midos, and we do what we can to express the tightrope, to verbalize the tightrope, to create the tightrope, to secure the tightrope, to ensure the tightrope. The Kiddush Hashem, the Kiddush Hashem that comes from our actions is a Kiddush Hashem that no one else could do. It's the Kiddush Hashem that says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look at the Ahava And look how nothing in the world will ever take away that ahava. And look how much I care. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the koyach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the deepest koychos that we all need to be zoicha, to be oimed in this nisoyan. And not only to be oimed, a level greater, to be happy with this nisoyan. To be happy with this nisoyan, to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, obviously, I am in the club of the beloved amongst the beloveds. If you chose me, this Yisurim is deeper and more painful than any other Yisurim. And the Pasuk says clearly, Es Asher Yehav Hashem Yechiach. You only give Yisurim, you only inflict pain upon those who are even more beloved to you. I take the Nisoyon, I will live with the emes, I will do what I can, whatever I can, and whatever it takes to allow my child to feel that I am there for him or for her or for them forever in the deepest way. Whatever is in my yecholes, I will do to convey this to the children. Yes, there will come a time, Be'ezus Hashem Yisporach, that they will say, thank you for holding me down. I now realize what your intentions were and how amazing your intentions were. But up until that day comes, and let it come bekorov u'b'meheira mamish, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us and all of you the enormous koichos, the pnimiistige koichos, to be proud of your tafkid, to take the tafkid as a shlichus, not as a b'diavad, but as a lechatchila. This may very well be your purpose in this world. Hashem should give you the koyach to be able to be there for yourselves, for your spouses, for the rest of your families. And I want to conclude with a nekuda I learned in Arizona. The Bochrim came back and they said to me, the tour guide told them that trees far outlive humans. Trees far outlive humans. So the Bochrim said to me, the tour guide explained them why. Because the tree has a moredige koyach. If there's something hurting in the tree knows how to build a wall of cells around it, and the rest of the tree continues living healthily on. Humans don't know how to do that. If something's hurting, everything's hurting, and everyone is hurting, and all of the time. So I told the Bochrim, Be'emes the Heilige Ishbitze says this word. The Pasuk says, Kinim tasa es ha-tevo. Create compartments and rooms in the tevo. Says the Heilige Ishbitze, why? And what about this is eternal that the Torah has to say it? She says, because when there is a mabul, and there is a mabul today, and I don't mean the rain that's outside. When there is a mabul, the only way to survive is to create compartments. And when you go into a compartment, open it, go in, and close the door behind you, and be only there. But when you leave the compartment, close the door, and enter other compartments. And that's not only a heilige word, it's a true ingredient to Hatzlocha. A true ingredient to Hatzlocha. We have to be matzliach, to be there for ourselves. Nicht meshugevern. It's difficult and easier said than done, but we owe it to ourselves. We have to be there for each other, husband to wife, wife to husband, and be there for the children. Be'ezus Hashem Yisporach. The Eibishter soll helfen that this year, the tefillah of Onu Matirin Lehispale Lemoavaryonim, that this heilige tefillah should really break Sharei Shomayim. And it shouldn't be just like every year. Onu Matirin Lehispale Lemoavaryonim und sie geht weiter. It should be Onu Matirin, they should feel it. Wherever they are. Wherever they may be, they should feel that they're included in our Yom Kippur. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu soll helfen. The pain is unbearable. The golus is deep. It's also way too long. I was in this room many years ago. I was sure by now Avi will close the doors and greet Mashiach oivenon. Aval Pikein, it's years later and we're back here. And there's still this Veitug in Klal Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu soll helfen, we should be Zoicha, it should be Ve'eshev Leiv Ovois al Bonim, V'leiv Bonim al Avoisom b'meir of Yomeinu Amen.